Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Kastner. I am the Assistant Dean and Director of Advising Operations for the College of Letters and Science at UCSB. I do a lot of different things around here, but one of my jobs and one of my favorite jobs is I help to coordinate and facilitate and lead the College of Letters and Science Honors Program. I've been at the university for 16 years. Prior to that, I was the assistant director of the honors program at the University of Michigan. And I've been and throughout the time for the last 20 or so years, 20, 26 more years, I've been an academic advisor, but I've always been, or for a long time, I've been connected to honors programs, and just very happy to be here this afternoon to talk with you a little bit about the honors program. Uh, Jesse, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Jessie Turner, she, her pronouns. I am an academic advisor here in the College of Letters and Science. Over 6 years now. I always have to say that I started 1 week before lockdown back in 2020. So a lot of special experiences here, both during that time and since. I am an alum. I got my PhD here in Chicana and Chicano studies a while ago. And I am coming here to this position from being a professor at St. Mary's College of California up in the Bay, and then University of South Florida, way across the country, looking for a better work-life balance than academia provided. Yeah, I've been an honors advisor the full 6 years that I've been here. So pleased to be here and welcome you all as well.
Okay, we're going to get started with our program. We've got a brief presentation. It'll take us probably about 15 or 20 minutes, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions afterwards. Here's an overview of what we'll talk about this afternoon. We want to talk about the values of the honors program, what's at the heart of the honors program. We want to talk about the benefits, why you might want to consider being part of the honors programs. Then we'll talk to you about how you get admitted to the the honors program. Then we'll talk about how at the end of the program. We'll tell you how you get in. We'll tell you how you finish, how you complete the program, and get recognized for that at when you graduate. At the heart of both at the heart of the program, or how you actually complete the program, are honors experiences. We'll talk about those. And then we want to make sure that, while we'll be going on over this in some detail, to really get the information you need, you'll want to go to our website. So you may want to might want to snap a picture of this URL, or even all you need to do is Google UCSB College of Letters and Science Honors Program, and you can find out a whole lot more about the program at our website. And here is the picture of our this is what it looks like. It has a lot of information about everything we're going to talk about this afternoon.
Okay, so to start with our values, we really see this as being twofold. One relating to academic passions and research, and then the other one is giving back to the community, however you define that. So we are facilitating students' engagement with the scholarly community and contributing to UCSB's research mission. As you know, UCSB is a Research One institution, and so academics and research are at the core of education here. And so honors really helps facilitate kind of engagement with faculty and other similarly minded students. But it's not just about the sorts of things that you can get from being in honors. It's equally about giving back to your community and making your community or communities stronger.
And then, as far as the benefits of the program, why you might want to be part of it. First of all, you get to be in a community of scholars. Now, I guess you could argue that any college, any university should be a community of scholars. But I think what we mean by this is that People attend college for all sorts of reasons, and they're all many of them, all of them are valid. And you build it, you're looking for what comes next in terms of further study or an occupation. You're coming to college to because you're interested in, you know, establishing yourself as an adult and becoming independent. You're coming to college for the sports and the social activities. All of those are valid reasons to go to college. But for the honors program, we know that also many students are committed to learning, committing and want to be with other people who are passionate about learning, passionate about having opportunities to get involved in research. So if that's something that you see yourself needing, is that something that you have a passion for? That's a good reason to join the honors program. While UCSB is a large institution, the College of Letters and Science has something like 19,000 students. It is still possible here to create close relationships with professors. That's going to be true whether you're in the honors program or not. But the honors program gives you it allows you through those honors experiences and other sorts of opportunities to create close relationships with professors early on. And so that's another wonderful reason to join the program. You also get to work with great advisors. We have dedicated honors advisors. Jesse is one of those. We also our colleague Sam Little, who's off on maternity leave, but will be back before fall starts, is another terrific advisor. So you'll be able to work with Sam and with Jesse. They're both people holding special hours that honors programs honors students are invited to join to go to see them. It is a while they will be glad to advise you about the honors program, and that's one of the reasons they're there. But but they will also advise you about all aspects of your academic career and your opportunities at UCSB. And then we have something that's it's kind of old school. It's circa 1999, but it's still really, really important. And that's the honors email list. People at the University of California want, and in various programs, various offices, they want to find opportunities to connect with great students. And the honors email list gives them the opportunity to do that. It is so through the honors email list, you're going to learn about, we're going to talk a little bit about community service and the importance of that to the program and how that's important for you, but also there are lots of other things going around at this university. And in a way, that email list kind of helps you kind of cut through the noise. It'll make you aware of all the opportunities, or many of the opportunities available at the university.
So some additional benefits that might this first one I like to joke. I never really heard students talk about this and was not really sure how much students benefit from this. But we also have a colleague who works in our department who used to be in the honors program here as an undergrad and said this was one of his favorite features is having graduate student library privileges. So normally you would have a few weeks to check out a text through the campus library or interlibrary loan. But in the honors program, you get graduate level privilege, which is an entire quarter. So when you are doing research, when you are looking more into certain topics for classes, you don't have to return the text right away. You can actually keep them. You may not know why at this point you want to keep this giant book for 10 weeks or whatever, but it can be quite beneficial when you're doing research, working on theses, stuff like that. For incoming freshmen, we also have a peer mentor program where over the summer, kind of right before fall quarter begins, students who are interested in being paired with a student in honors who is at least a sophomore level, has at least been in honors for 1 year, can ask for that. And then on the flip side, students currently in the program can give back by sharing some of their experiences, their knowledge, their tips, either about honors, how to navigate that, answer some questions. They can answer, give I don't know, differences between this professor, that professor, how do I get to this store in town? What's the best restaurant in IV? You know, they're not academic advisors, but they're an additional resource for you to go to, an extra connection point. And then they do receive community service hours for that as well. And then again, like we've mentioned a few times, community service is a foundation of our program. Um, on our listserv, we do have a lot of emails that go out. There's also a lot of chances to volunteer directly with the honors program at different times during the year, like at our open house or at other types of informational recruitment events across campus to kind of share your passion and your understanding of the program and just connect with students.
We've got a couple of questions in the Q&A, and one we'll get to in a little bit, and that's how transfer students get in the program. We'll talk about that. Another question about are there students with young children in the honors program? Um, we certainly have had students with young children. Jessie is a young child of her own, so we'd be very excited to, and actually now Sam does also. So we would certainly appreciate, we would certainly be welcoming to people with young children. So it's not, there's no reason why that couldn't be. So that would be pretty exciting.
Yeah, just like
But
non-trad students in general, you know,
right.
students with children, absolutely welcome. There's not anything, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. There's nothing about having a kid that would inhibit you from participating fully in the program. There's not extra things that you have to do, and you might even be able to double up some of the community service stuff with your parenting.
And we have we have the money question. We might as well get that out of the way. No, we don't have any scholarship opportunities for students. We would certainly, you should certainly contact the office. If you have scholarship questions, you should certainly contact the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships, but there's no special funding that the honors program has. So how do you get into the honors program? That's the question. That's a good question. So first of all, any student, if for freshman students admitted directly from high school, any student who SIRs, that means submits an intention to register at UCSB, is eligible, or I should have to be specific, SIR, and has been admitted to the College of Letters and Science. That student does have that student does have the opportunity to apply to join the honors program. That application will open up sometime in June. We keep it open for about June to kind of late, maybe early July. It's open for 3 to 4 weeks. We ask you to write a couple of short essay questions. We talk about those essay questions as being kind of lightly evaluated. I mean, we want you to, they're not, it's not the kind of thing that we're testing your knowledge or anything like that. We just ask you some questions about why you might want to be in the honors program and just sort of in general. And then, as long as it's clear to us that you've written this yourself and it's something that you thought a little bit about, your name is put into a lottery after the application closes. And we will admit this, depending on how much space we have, and it's usually somewhere in the neighborhood of 200, 250 students, something like that. Those students then are admitted to the program. So then that's the first chance. That is when you first apply, or when you first are admitted to UCSB. There's a second chance for students who are admitted to freshmen to get into the program, and that is after their second year at UCSB. So after your second year at UCSB, if you've attempted at least 36 letter graded units and you have a 3.2 GPA, you're also going to be able to apply. The application process is relatively simple or similar. You have to answer some essay questions. While we have had to cap admission for people starting before their first year so far, and we wouldn't anticipate that this that this would change. We haven't had to turn down anybody who's applied as a second-year student. So you have an excellent chance of getting into the program as a sophomore if you maintain this standard, or that 3.2 GPA standard. If you aren't admitted in your first year. Now I want to talk a little bit about these admission requirements because I think it
Scott,
kind
real
of goes
quick,
at the heart of the
can I
program.
make a
Go ahead.
correction?
Sorry.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
no, no. You said after your second year. So
Oh,
it's after your first year, before your second year.
right, right. Before your second year, I apologize. Before your sophomore year. Thank you. I want to talk about a little bit about these admission requirements. We used to do things very differently at UCSB. We used to at this time of year we would get, well, actually it was a little bit before this. This is when students were first admitted to being admitted to UCSB. We used to get from the admissions office something called the ADN. It was kind of a ranking system, and students who had the highest ranking were automatically admitted to the program when they were admitted to UCSB. And what we found out over the years that there were two problems with this. One was simply that we were admitting a lot of people to the honors program who had no idea and didn't really care that they were admitted to the honors program. And they didn't do anything. And then we later had to kind of kick them out because they didn't do anything. And we kind of wonder, why are we inviting people to join a program why are we inviting people to a party that they didn't express any interest to attend? It didn't make any sense. The other issue, it came in a lot of reflection over that a lot of our society has done over the last decade or so. We were realizing that with the old ranking system that we were doing, that we were really often admitting students to the honors program, not because of where they grew up, because they were lucky enough to go to a high school that offered a lot of AP courses or IB courses, that they had a certain level of opportunity that some of our students didn't have. And so we committed to, again, about 5 years ago now, what we committed to is that saying we know that students who are admitted to UCSB, period, are excellent students, are really good students, and what we want to do is not base honor participation in the honors program based on what people did while they did in high school. We want to base it on what they do once they get here. And so we wanted to have this program to be open to a lot more folks, not just for kind of a fairly selected few that were just benefiting from attending the right kind or a certain kind of high school or having the certain kinds of experiences. So we really changed it. And so to kind of democratize it, to kind of balance that, we want excellence, but we also want inclusiveness. And this is what we've settled down. This is what we've settled on. Also, going to that earlier question about transfer students, we handle transfer student applications a little bit differently. What we will do for students who are coming to UCSB as a transfer is that we will evaluate. We ask admissions to give us some information about how they did at their transfer institution, where they're coming from. If they had a 3 if they have a 3.5 GPA, if they're coming from a California community college, or if they have a 3.2 GPA, if they're transferring from another UC, we will send them an invitation asking them to consider applying to the honors program. And then that happens a little bit later, more towards July, August. But then but it's a similar sort of process where we evaluate them. And we haven't had with transfer students, and Jesse, you can correct me on this if I'm misremembering it. We haven't had to go into any kind of lottery so far. I think we've been able to admit most of the transfer students
Yeah,
that have applied.
I think last year was maybe the first time in my experience where we had maybe five more. There are 100 seats for transfer students, and I think maybe we had like, I don't know, 106 applicants, but not everybody ends up meeting criteria. Like we do go through them, right? It's not
Right.
just completely random. We do review, like lightly review, like Scott said.
So I wouldn't say it's easier to join the program as a transfer student, but I wouldn't say it's significantly more difficult either.
All the questions are the same, right? These are not secrets. It's what are your academic passions, basically, and your interest in research, and what's your interest in community service, not just what you've done so far, but what it might be in the future. You can start thinking about those answers now. Okay, so that's how you get into the program. What do you do to actually complete the program upon graduation, slash, what are you actually doing during your time at UCSB? Um, so kind of the heart of the program is composed of these first two bullet points. So, 6 honors, what we call experiences, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a sec, and then 40 hours of community service. Both of these are by the time of graduation, not every year. The community service specifically needs to repair, sustain, or improve your community. It can be hyper local, like your dorm. It can be campus. It can be local, like IV or Galita or SB. It can be your community back home. It can be your study abroad community. It can be your UCDC community. It can be a virtual online community. However, you want to define your community, as long as it is toward the specific goal. And then when you submit your service hours for review, we do ask you to write a brief explanation explaining how your particular service supports this goal of honors. So you're doing honors experiences each year for a total of 6 by graduation. It is the same regardless of if you enter directly from high school as a sophomore as a transfer. 40 hours of community service by graduation, and then a 3.2 cumulative UC GPA at graduation as well. We do look at students' progress each summer just to make sure folks are staying on track, both with GPA, completion of different types of honors experiences. That way we can just help students if maybe they're a little bit behind. Um, we want to note that there is some wiggle room. We know that it can be pretty challenging to transfer schools, to start college, to start at a quarter system. There's just a lot going on when students start here. So there can be some wiggle room. You don't have to be perfect. We don't expect you to be perfect. We are not perfect. So it's not, such high stakes that if you struggle a little bit coming in or even later that you will be automatically out. We're just trying to make sure that you're making good progress, so that things won't be extra stressful later.
There is another, students who meet those basic requirements of the 6 honors experiences, the 40 hours, and have a 3.2 GPA are recognized as completing the honors program. There's another level of honors, another level that we have for the program, and that's that students who do a little bit more are also recognized on their transcript with the academic engagement award. In this case, to qualify for the academic engagement award, students have to have at least a 3.5 cumulative GPA. They also need to complete a capstone experience. Now, we define capstone experience in several different ways, and I think, if I remember, that's the next slide, isn't it, Jesse? I think so. No, never mind. It's not. Well, we'll jump in. Anyway, capstone experience, though, the is that if a student does distinction in their major, that generally means doing a senior thesis. That would be that would be one kind of capstone experience. If a student does studies abroad for an entire term, so not a summer term, but either a fall, winter, or spring quarter, we'll consider that to be an honors experience. If a student does research and then is in our colloquium, our research colloquium, the IRCA research colloquium, we'll count that as an honors experience. And then we're open to some other kinds of things. If you decide that you want to create your own community service organization or student organization or student activity that focuses on service, we'll consider that, and then we're open to some kind of other things. But the idea is that we want you to be able to explain in writing how something you did was kind of it topped off. That really in some ways summarizes your experience in the honors program, your experience at the university, and so that's a capstone experience. Jesse, you look at a lot of these. Do you want to talk any more
I
about?
sure do. I'm the one that looks at these at the end of every quarter. It is laid out on our website. We've tried to make it clearer. You can go and look more in depth. I will say the most common ones that I get are distinction in the major, the IRCA colloquium presentation, and then also a full term of either UC EAP, which is the education abroad through UC, or UCDC. Those are the most common, but we have gotten a couple. Usually there's a couple every year of kind of like a special proposed project that the student does. Um, so that's kind of how you complete the program. Honors experiences. So these are the six that you need to do while you're in the program, ideally distributed throughout your time here. We don't call them honors classes because they're not necessarily just classes. It's something that has you go deeper into learning or it takes a unique perspective on education. Um, they can be courses, right? Honors specific courses or sections. Um, I think our biggest lecture hall holds 840 something students. You'll probably have a class there at some point. Those larger lectures are broken out down into smaller discussion sections of various sizes. Sometimes there are honors versions of those sections led by faculty as opposed to a teaching assistant. There are a couple types of seminars. So honors seminars are specifically for students in the honors program. These are small, maybe like, I don't know, 10 to 30 student classes, depending on if there's a field trip involved. 2 units, letter grade only, on fun topics. Like there's a yoga one. There is one where you make, I don't know, take field trips. There are ones that are related to certain academic disciplines, like pedestrian physics, I think was a recent one. They're just really fun topics. The faculty want to teach them. It's kind of on top of their standard teaching responsibilities. And so it's often their particular topic of research or something that they just really enjoy. Um, Great way to get to know other students, to get to know a faculty member, and the faculty member will get to know your name, which will be harder in the large lectures. Similar to these are discovery seminars. There are lower division ones, either 1 or 2 units, also upper division ones for transfer students specifically, also 1 or 2 units, pass not pass only. Similar in topics, field trips, making your own body products like the chemistry of, I don't know, makeup and shampoo or something, but you also get to make them. Just really whatever topic the faculty wants to teach. Same size, everything is similar. These are open to all students, not just students in the honors program. For students coming in as freshmen to UCSB, typically discovery seminars are limited to your first, maybe your second year. Honors seminars you can take longer. So if you happen to not get into honors the first year, if you're coming in directly from high school, please still take discovery seminars because I think you'll get a lot out of it, and then you'll see if that's the type of learning you enjoy, and it'll confirm if you want to apply as a sophomore. Once you hit upper division classes, so this is once you reach junior standing, 90 units or more, taking an upper division class, which is a class numbered 100 to 199, you have the option of doing an honors contract. So personally, I think that this is the most unique feature of honors and one that I really like to encourage students to look at. You can go to the professor and say, I'm really interested in this topic of this class that we have that you're teaching. I'd like to go a little bit deeper. And then you and the faculty agree on what that deeper means. It's 1 extra unit of work, pass not pass. But what's really unique is that that faculty member agrees to meet with you one-on-one on a regular basis throughout the quarter to talk about your work. In certain departments, like bio, for example, I've heard it might not be one-on-one, but 1-on-5. That is still quite intimate compared to some of the other sizes. So that's a great option once you hit that point in your time at UCSB. And then We also have a whole bunch of what we term automatic honors courses. So things like independent research, or if you're going to be a research assistant for a professor, if you do honors in your major, if you take a graduate level course, and many more, but these are just some examples. And then again, if you do a UC study abroad or UCDC or the UC Sacramento program, those count. You may notice that some of these are options we mentioned for the capstone for the Academic Engagement Award. Yes, you can double dip. We are big on double dipping here. So it can count as an experience and a capstone.
Um, Whenever we do these presentations, we have to, I'm always a little sheepish about this. UCSB is a great institution, but we're not very creative with the word honors. So there are many ways to earn honors at UCSB. Today, we're talking about the College of Letters and Science Honors Program. So if you finish the College of Letters and Science Honors Program, you recognize that you can definitely label yourself as an honors student and put that on your resume. It'll be on your transcript. But there are other ways that students will earn honors at UCSB. Part of it is honors at undergraduate honors at graduation or college honors. These are honors that are based pretty much just on GPA. And I'm not going to go through the whole, what you have to do in order to qualify those, but those are things that if you go to the registrar's website in graduation, you can see that there's certain students can graduate with honors or high honors or highest honors depending on their GPA. Also, and we've mentioned a couple of times that that it is possible to do honors in your major. Sometimes it's referred to as distinction in your major. So that's another way to get honors. And again, that's typically doing a senior thesis. And then each quarter, depending on how you do, you can qualify for dean's honors. So there's multiple honors at UCSB, but we always want to do our disclaimer because it can mean honors can mean different things in different contexts.
And you can get
And, yeah,
multiple
go
of
ahead.
these or all of these, but we also want to highlight maybe you decide that the honors program is not the best fit. There are still other ways to get honors. So none of these are exclusive and none of these are the only option. I see some questions in the Q&A. So how many freshmen typically apply? To 750 maybe? So 3 times the number of seats we have at 250 seats for incoming freshmen. Um, that's why we do the lottery. Over time, we have tried a million different ways to work out the number of seats compared to the number of applicants, and we found the lottery just to be the most equitable. For sophomores, we still have 250 seats and usually only get about 100 applicants. I think that's because one, not all students will have 36 letter graded units. They might not have the 3.2 GPA, but honestly, I think a lot of students forget. So maybe put it in your calendar now. You can erase it later if you don't need it. It would be August of 2027 if you're coming in directly from high school. That would be the next chance to apply. For incoming transfers, 100 seats. And again, we don't normally get a lot more than that. For transfers, do we calculate the GPA from their most recent college or all of them? I don't know off the top of my head. Admissions is the one that does that calculation and sends us the list. Do you know, Scott?
I'm pretty sure it's based on total. It's based on
Yeah,
all where they've attended all their places. It's not
I
just
think
based
so
on their
too.
last school.
And no, it does not make a difference if you were in the honors program at your transfer institution. We don't know that information, and that's not what is considered. Um, if you completed the community service prior to attending UCSB, then this is a great chance to continue. You cannot count it before you joined honors. So if you happen to join as a rising sophomore after your first year, you also cannot count honors experiences completed or service completed before you join the program. It's only once you join the program. And
And
yes, you can do your volunteer hours whenever you want.
we would love it if you continue to do community service at home. We've even had students who've done community service while they've been studying abroad. So that's
Hmm.
highly possible. Um, and where can I learn about the other honors opportunities? I think at our website's a good place to do that. We have more information. You go to the registrar's website, there's information there about graduation and honors. Any of the department's websites will have information about doing distinction in their majors.
Yep.
And
Our
you know, and Vivian, this is a very good question about I'm not sure what we do with out of state for transfer students. If I'm trying to remember, I know our slide said California community colleges, but I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate.
I'm gonna guess we put that because that's the primary population that we see students coming from, but it's a 3.2 from a UC. I think it's 3.5 from any
Right.
other
Yeah,
institution.
it's not, as I think about it, it's not going to be just California. It's
Yeah, it's any other
any UC.
institution that's not a UC.
All right, it looks like you got through the questions. If there are any other lingering questions, feel free, audience members, to go ahead and type them up in T minus 1 minute or less because we will be departing. I will say that this is one of our final virtual open house sessions, and so we're so really honored to have Letters in Science be able to participate so that there is accessible opportunities for some of the folks that are not able to come in person, come from open house to listen to Letters in Science in the honors program. We do have a few faculty lectures that are happening next week, so I hope that you have registered for those sessions, a part of our virtual open house extravaganza. Really, it's been 30 different sessions that we've had so far. So thank you all so much. If you missed anything on this session, know that it has been recorded and you can catch it on our virtual open house playlist. That is at UCSB, the number 4 me. That's UCSB for me on YouTube. And you can watch this recording as well as other virtual open house sessions that we've hosted. Without further ado, I'd like to give a virtual round of applause to our presenters. Thank you so much, Jesse and Scott. Until we all meet again, everyone, take care. Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you.